The very first thing to do when starting work on a CharacterWorks project is to check the project settings, where the target output device and profile is set. The output device drop-down lists output devices available to CharacterWorks. These include legacy TriCaster systems, NDI for newer TriCasters, or other systems such as vMix or Blackmagic Decklink boards that allow SDI connections. It is also possible to use video output ports, DisplayPort, HDMI etc. on your graphics card for preview or output purposes. If you purchase the video wall output option, it becomes available as an output device here as well. For the selected output device, supported resolution and frame rate combinations are listed in the output profile dropdown. Depending on the output device, output profiles ranging from SD to Full HD, Ultra HD, or even higher custom resolutions via the video wall output option are possible. The Live 2 section becomes enabled if you own the dual channel output option. The output settings for the second independent output channel can be adjusted here. One of the most effective ways to adapting to a new software platform is to study the sample projects available. CharacterWorks installation provides tens of ready-to-use sample projects. A large portion of these are accessed via the library section. Samples in the library can be imported instantly into your CharacterWorks project by using the import command found in the right-click menu. All layers in the imported project will be displayed in the project inspector. The motion browser lists the motions in a project. When a motion is selected or pinned in the motion browser, its layer hierarchy will be displayed in the timeline section of the project inspector. A motion is a hierarchical collection of layers, image, text, composition and other objects that are logically related and can be played together. Layers can also be selected by clicking on them in the graphics viewer. Once a layer is selected, its attributes can be examined and edited in the attribute editor. A quick and easy way of giving a layer a different look is to use material presets. There are hundreds of material presets that are ready for use on layers by simple drag and drop action. Once a preset is applied, layer and material attributes can be modified further. To preview motion playback in a CharacterWorks project, the preview controller can be used. To actually control playback on the output device, the live controllers are used. There is another, more flexible controller that we can use to control motion playback, the grid controller, more on that later. Let's import a few samples from the CharacterWorks library and play them. Many CharacterWorks projects use data from an external source, such as Twitter, RSS, web APIs, XML JSON, and databases. For example, to update the sample weather report project with the latest forecast data, select the data source from the Data tab, then click on Execute Query button. The data will be updated, and it will be made available to CharacterWorks graphics layers. The grid controller allows you to create your own control interface by assigning layer actions to buttons. Drag a motion onto a grid cell, and a button will be created. It will be assigned to the motion's play action by default. Buttons with finish actions can be used to cue motions out of view. A grid button may have more than one action assigned. In that case, actions are executed simultaneously. For example, a button can play one motion while it finishes another one. It is possible to access the grid controller remotely using a web browser from another PC, tablet or smartphone. While there are live motions, one can modify the current project by editing existing layers or creating new ones. Let's create a motion for a logo. Click on the Create Image Layer tool, browse to an image file, and place it on the screen. By default, the motion occupies a duration of 3 seconds on the timeline, and as such, it will disappear after 3 seconds of playback. To make the motion remain on screen for an indefinite amount of time, enable its loop via the attribute editor and set the in and out points for the loop. When the motion is started, playback will proceed as usual. Once it reaches the end of the loop, it will jump back to the beginning of the loop. The motion will keep looping until the finish signal is given. When that happens, playback will complete the loop. Then, it will continue into the section following the loop, running until the end. Using effect presets, we can make the intro and outro sections a lot nicer. Simply drag one of the hundreds of available effect presets into the effects box for the motion. Effect presets, just like material presets, can be edited once applied. To determine whether a motion will appear in front of other motions or behind them, the Draw Priority attribute is used. To have the logo motion appear in front, it would need to have a draw priority value that is higher than that of other motions. To be more specific, since the weather forecast motion has a draw priority of 2, the logo would need to have a draw priority of 3. If you intend to have many motions in your project at several different priority levels, it may be a good idea to use large values here. Creating some grid buttons to help us test a logo motion. Next, let's work on keyframe animation of some text to be placed over the logo. While working on a motion, if we want to use another motion as a reference, we can pin it using the icon in the motion browser so that it will remain on screen. The new text layer is displayed under the logo, but that is because of the draw priority values of the logo and text motions, of course. So, simply increase the draw priority of the new motion to ensure that the text remains on top. Putting the final touches on the text. To make the text remain on screen indefinitely, enable its parent motions loop. Moving to the frame just before the start of the loop and activating set key mode. When the set key mode is enabled, any changes made to the value of an attribute will cause a key to be created for that attribute. Modify the position value just a tiny bit to make sure a keyframe is created. Then, we move to the beginning of the timeline and move the text outside the screen, which will cause another key to be created at that time. We managed to create a very simple keyframe animation. Something very similar needs to be done for the outrow section, which will be played when the motion is finished. Right-click on one of the position entry boxes and select track from the menu. This will display the keyframes in the track box and attributes, as well as the project inspector. Hold down Ctrl while left-clicking on the timeline, and a copy of the nearest keyframe will be placed at the location where you clicked. Each keyframe has an interpolation function setting which will change the animation style. For example, ease out elastic and ease in elastic can be used to create some entertaining animations. Creating some grid buttons to test and preview our latest work. This ends our attempt at providing a quick introduction to some of the basic principles of CharacterWorks operation. It is impossible to cover the huge set of functionality provided by CharacterWorks in a single video, so visit CharacterWorks webpage for about 100 tutorial videos to find out more about the world of CharacterWorks. If you prefer to read instead, CharacterWorks also has a detailed and comprehensive interactive help system. If you need professional level support for your projects, drop us an email.